money home for the kids and you.
The most notable thing he did, apart from all the extra music that he wrote, was to transpose the story from London to New York and to rewrite it in a much more brilliant manner.
I can't remember if he said that's probably what happened. Yeah, I changed it to Irish immigrants who went to New York a long time ago, well before I was born. Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think at the time we hadn't actually been to New York, so I imagine a lot of it's like the New York of his imagination and the New York of Once Upon a Time in America, I think, permeated in as well, because that was out at the time, and I seem to remember Shane was pretty obsessed with it.
I didn't have to imagine the scene of the misery of Irish immigrants in America who don't make it, you know, who don't get to run bars, who don't get to become big in the entertainment business, who don't get to make a good living.
When the Pogues came to New York in the 80s, it was like this hurricane had hit the town among the Irish American community. And then, say, with the song Fairytale New York, for me personally, it was the first cool song ever to mention the NYPD, where it wasn't saying kill the pigs or something. And when the song came out, I told all my friends, I said, listen, like, that's McGowan. He's more a member of the diaspora than he is the rock and roll elite. And he's one of us, man, and that's kind of the attitude most of my friends have toward it.
Record company difficulty in a 2-year delay in recording the band's third album, but they continued to tour, and the songs, including Fairytale, were nicely polished by the time a chance meeting between manager Frank Murray and U2 producer Steve Lillywhite gave the album the green light.
We used Rack Studios in St John's Wood. It was Steve's favourite place. You know, he liked to record there. When we went in, we had a producer who was a world-class producer. The band had come on in leaps and bounds, and it had gone from this sort of small song to this very, very large song, and a song also that had great crossover appeal.
The song was in good shape. It was very much 2 songs, and I remember recording it in 2 sections. We recorded the piano section first with a live vocal. Shane did the vocal with the piano.
There was Christmas Eve, babe, in the drunk tank, an old man said to me, "Don't see another one."
James Fernley played the piano and Shane sang, and I think in 2 or 3 takes they got it, and it's just beautiful. I mean, it's a piece in itself.
And dreamed about you, got on a lucky one, came in 18 to 1. I've got a feeling this year's for me and you.
And then we went and did the backing track for the rest of the song. And then it was a simple tape splicing job. So in those days, you know, it's like whip out the razor blade and chop the whole thing together.
After we put the beginning and the second part together and spliced the 2 together, I got Shane to go in and do a sketch vocal of how the song should be. And he then wrote the lyrics out for me, and then he just underlined the bit. This is where she's this and she does that and stuff. And I actually took the tape back to my house, and I remember wiping Shane's parts off the tape and just and playing it to Kirsty and going, these are the bits that you sing. And it was actually during the middle section, I could have been someone, well, so could any. And when Kirsty sung that section, I thought, this is spectacular. You know, this is a hit record.
Well, so could anyone. You took my dreams from me when I first found you.
I had no input no, it wasn't because she was my wife and I was trying to get her a job or vice versa. You know, it was, you know, Shane was a big fan of Kirsty's and decided that she should be singing.
The boys of the NYPD chorus are singing Galway Bay,
And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day. The Fairytale New York was a whole collaborative thing, you know. I mean, like, without the right band, without the right girl singer, without the right production, without the right management, without the right marketing, without the right whatever, it might not have gone anywhere.
The production by Steve Lillywhite and the orchestration by Fairytale Trent are critical parts of the whole of the whole experience.
The essential thing was not to be too sweet, actually, and for what I did with the strings to somehow be within the spirit of the Pogues.
I mean, that's just a glorious intro there. And the way Fairytale has orchestrated it throughout, just beautifully lyrical and tasteful strings alongside of the kind of roughness of the Pogues.
An old man said to me,
and if it hadn't have had those strings on it, and if it hadn't have been as well produced, it would never have gone beyond a Pogues record. Sometimes people need a song presented in a certain way to realise just how good it is.
I turned my face away and dreamed about you.
If it doesn't hit them over the head immediately, well, it's understandable. People have a lot more to do with their lives. So this song was presented in such a way that it was obviously a great song.
There is this expression, you can't polish a turd, you know. And to be honest, it's very difficult to produce a bad version of Fairytale of New York.
I had no idea what we were going to call it, and then Steve said, "What's this song called?" And I just said, Fairytale in New York. And if that's all right with everybody else. And like there was, yeah. Jem was reading Fairytale in New York, that's right. It's the name of a story by J.B. Dunleavy, but it's got nothing to do with the song.
And then after that, actually, I can remember I drove through Camden and dropped Shane off. He was going somewhere, and we both sort of just like looked at each other and thought, I've finally done it.
We had a hard time trying to get the sleeve right down, and Simon Ryan just came up with that great photograph, you know, Spider looking out the window down onto New York, onto a New York scape, you know, that black and white one.
And I really wanted it to look fantastic. And I had a great book of portrait photography, one of which was this original picture of Sammy Davis. So I set up a sort of situation where if the band liked it, we could nip straight round to a photographer who was all ready and geared up to put someone in the position of Sammy Davis and take his photo. And I kept my fingers crossed and hoped that the band would like it. So we zipped down, saw the band, and they loved it. And then the band sort of elected Spider to, you know, to be the star of the picture. And it was a fantastic sleeve. And it also was a fantastic cock-up, because we nicked the picture, basically.
We had used that trick a few times with the Pogues. We'd done it with a James Joyce photograph, and we'd done it with Rum Sodomy and the Lash. But I think somebody got fined anyway. Somebody had to pay a bill about 6 months later for nicking the idea. Well, we got caught.
But it did make a fantastic sleeve, and that's all I care about.
I absolutely adore this new record. Hope it's going to be #1 for Christmas. The Pogues and Kirsty MacColl and the fabulous Fairytale of New York. This is great.
I'm not sure about the trouble at Top of the Pops. There was one thing, they tried to censor the word arse, and they told Kirsty she must say ass instead. Now, I didn't get the subtle difference of it, you know what I mean? But when actually, if you watch Top of the Pops, when Kirsty sings it, she still sounds like she's singing arse anyway.
You scumbag, you maggot, cheap, cheap, lousy faggot. Happy Christmas, you ass. I pray God it's our last.
Top of the bus, it's a joke. They hold up cards saying clap. Yell. Hoot.
They sang a song, the rare old mountain tune.
Yeah, well, you remind me, right, and like there's loads of complaints because I'm chewing gum all the way through it. And the only reason people noticed we were miming was because I was chewing gum so obviously. And there was all this ridiculous sort of for shame letters, you know what I mean, like, you're a fraud, you're a fake, you know what I mean, you can't sing, you didn't really sing it, you didn't really write it, you know, the band doesn't really play it, you're like the Monkeys or something. Because we saw you chewing gum while you were singing on top of the pubs.
I was fairly convinced it was going to be a #1 single, really. So I started hitting the Camden Town. And I started off getting odds at around 60 to 1. And at the same time, the Pet Shop Boys had released You Were Always on My Mind.
It was risky releasing it at Christmas because a Christmas record has a shelf life of up to Christmas Day. You know, who's going to buy a Christmas song on the 27th of December? You know, if Radio 1 wouldn't play it, or if it didn't get on the radio, there's nothing worse than a Christmas miss.
It was quite nail-biting because we were just coming down from a gig in Glasgow, in Barrowlands. And on the way from the gig, from Barrowlands to the Glasgow airport, I had the cabbie to keep the radio on because we were waiting for that week's chart to come in. And just I'm getting out of the cab at Glasgow, they just go, and #2, folks. Yes, it's the Pogues. I thought, oh, shit.
This is one of those few times in the history of music where I think #2 beat out the #1 in the history books. Because You Were Always on My Mind by the Pet Shop Boys, I don't think really rolls off your tongue as one of the great Christmas records.
With the chart success of A Fairy Tale of New York, the Pogues finally made the breakthrough to a mass audience, and their following soon turned from a trickle of loyal supporters into a deluge of pop fans.
There was a lot of people who weren't, you know, fans of the Pogues in the beginning, but had sort of gotten to like them, and like, it was the most dangerous thing they ever done in their life. Who was at a Pogue show last night, you know? And have you seen how crazy their audience is? But it was all down to, you know, Fairy Tale in New York. You know, people wanted to see this band that had recorded this song and had played it over Christmas, and they were curious. They wanted to go down and see a dangerous band, or what they thought was a dangerous band.
At the time we did Fairytale in New York, everything was going great. We were all earning more money every day in our lives. We were all having a great time. The way it should be for old, good musicians, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we were lucky, yeah, because I mean, most great bands never get anywhere.
It gave Kirsty a springboard back into her own career. And who knows what she may have gone on to do, because she was certainly nowhere near the end of her career. Her latest album, Tropical Brainstorm, is a great, witty album, and that was a new springboard for her, because I think after the divorce, she felt, you know, it knocked both of us, you know, and by this point, by her death last year, we were good friends again. The kids were doing very well at school, and then that happened.
In December 2000, Kirsty MacColl died in a tragic boating accident in Mexico.
She was a true artist, and it's so sad that she's not around anymore.
Nothing is ever going to sound as good as Shane MacGowan and Kirsty. That was of its time, that was of its moment, and it was beautifully captured.
Phil Coulter recorded A Fairy Tale of New York as part of his orchestral tribute album Local Heroes, and then went on to produce a vocal version with Ronan Keating and Moya Brennan.
I was less wary about approaching Fairy Tale of New York in an orchestral instrumental treatment than I was of revisiting with Ronan Keating and Moya Brennan, because now you're treading the same path. Now you're doing the vocals, and of course you're inviting comparisons.
Came in 1821.
It would be a very dangerous thing for me to try and capture what Shane captured in it. You know, what he is, he sings the way he sings, the attitude that he brings to the song, that's him. So I have to bring my own, my own attitude and my own performance, and try and be me. So I didn't try and shout and give the attitude. I tried to sing the song as best I could in my own voice.
All our dreams come true. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome on stage Moya Brennan.
We did change some of the lyrics in the song. We changed the lyric, you scumbag, you maggot, you're cheap and you're haggard. We changed it to. The original was, you scumbag, you maggot, you cheap, lazy faggot. And obviously it's not meant that way in any way, but still today, in this day and age, we have to be careful with the way things are delivered and what is said in songs. We don't want to offend. I don't want to offend anybody, to be honest. It's such a beautiful song, and for the song to be ruined by any attention brought to it like that would be wrong. So we just decided just to change it there and then.
You scumbag, you maggot, you're cheap and you're haggard. Happy Christmas, you're ours, I pray God it's our last.
My proudest achievement is probably getting Moya Brennan to sing Happy Christmas, My Arse.
And dreamed about you. Got on a lucky one. Came in 1801. I've got a feeling.
Others have taken the song on board and made it their own, and that means that a song will survive beyond its performance from the mouths of the people who wrote it. The fact that a song walks away on its own, I would imagine would be every songwriter's dream, that it does take on a life of its own.
I mean, for me, most Christmas songs are pretty kitsch. They're like the paper that you rip off your presents. They're nice and glittery for a week or two, and then you scrumple them up and you throw them in the bin.
You're supposed to be happy. Everyone's telling you it's Christmas joy and love, but this song is giving you all these mixed messages, which is everyone feels about Christmas. Shane is a great writer.
It's the time where, the season of goodwill and good cheer. It's the time where all the skeletons come out of the closet, all the grudges come out, and it ends up in a massive fucking rack,
It's kind of the Irish way, really, in a way, I think the way, the kind of the love-hate thing, it's a very... you kind of see it in families in Ireland quite a bit, people going on, you're now this and you're now that, but I love you, come here to me and give me, whatever, and it's magical. It's brilliant. Shane really, nailed it with this tune. It's a great song. It's such a beautiful song.
It's so outside of all of those anodyne ones that we tend to get at Christmas time, which tend to be typically so saccharine. This is a wonderful sort of tough song.
It's a classic Christmas song. It's a classic pop song. It's a Christmas song without being all jingle bells and cheesy. It's a Christmas song of the best sort. It's a contemporary Christmas song that, well, even if Shane never wrote another song, this is a nice for the rest of the duration of the copyright.
If you were cynically trying to have a Christmas hit, you would not have lyrics like that. You might necessarily have Shane sing it. But I can't imagine that when they sat down and wrote it, they thought this was going to be a commercial hit, unless they actually did believe they could buck the system. And in the music business, you very rarely buck the system.
I could have been someone.
Well, so could anyone. You took my dreams from me when I first found you.
I kept them with
like me, babe. I put them with my own. Can't make it all alone. I built my dreams around you. The boys of the NYPD chorus are singing Galway Bay, and the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day. It's hard to have a Christmas here. Yeah? Because there's so much fucking sentimental garbage being dumped in every year, and that's generally what floats to the top, yeah? Yeah? So obviously, like, I feel a smug self-satisfactory way that I stuck it up, and we all do, you know? Everybody's involved in it. Yeah. We made the nastiest Christmas single ever, yeah.